The anime begins with a mature young man named Alan, traveling north on a train. He's writing a letter to his beloved Lydia, telling her he's headed north after what happened to him, failing the royal magician test. He remembers what had just happened with the professor, who was saddened by Alan's failure and hadn't expected it at all, saying the test was a real hindrance for him. He asked Alan if he had the slightest idea what went wrong, but Alan knew nothing. Aside from that, he didn't have the funds to return to his family, which made him very sad. The professor thought sending money to his family was very noble, but he should also think about himself. The professor offered him a job opening he had. An old friend was looking for a tutor for his daughter until spring only, and would pay generously. He asked Alan for his opinion, if he wanted to give it a try. Alan was surprised, but agreed immediately. The professor spoke with his friend and told him he'd found the right person, and that this was the boy he'd told him so much about, even saying he was the smartest he'd ever taught. After finishing the call, he told Alan his friend was very welcoming of the idea. He informed Alan that he would be tutoring Duke Howard's daughter, Tina, from one of the 4 noble houses, and she hoped to enter the Royal Academy in the spring. Alan thought tutoring a duke's daughter might be difficult, remembering that the other one was also a duke's daughter. The professor showed him the ticket he'd bought, telling him he'd depart at noon in a first-class carriage. This annoyed Alan greatly, making him think the professor had set him up, but the professor wished him good luck. Alan returned to his present, still on his way north by train, and finished writing the letter to Lydia. Alan arrived in the city. The weather was very cold, and he began looking for Duke Howard's mansion. A man named Graham, Duke Howard's head butler, appeared with Ellie, a maid in training. Ellie greeted Alan, and after they exchanged greetings, they headed to the carriage. Graham told Alan the carriage was small, and asked Ellie if she should sit on Alan's lap, which greatly embarrassed Ellie, and Alan also tried to prevent it. But Ellie didn't mind and said she had no problem with it, and Graham saw it that way too. They got into the carriage, and Alan was surprised by the ribbon in Ellie's hair as they began to move. Alan saw that the snow was heavy, but Graham told him they'd be staying indoors for the coming days due to the intense cold. Alan saw that Ellie was cold and gave her his own scarf. He then offered to use magic to warm the inside of the carriage. Graham agreed, and Alan used his magic to warm it, which astonished and amazed Ellie. But Alan told her it wasn't a difficult spell once you got used to it. They arrived at Duke Howard's mansion, and Graham opened the carriage door for them to exit. But Ellie couldn't get out, and Alan had to carry her, which caused her great embarrassment. After setting her down, he apologized if he had caused any inconvenience to Your Highness, Princess. Ellie was surprised he knew she was the Duke's daughter, the princess, and immediately asked him how he knew. Alan realized it when he met her at the train station. She wasn't fit to be a maid because of her unsuitable clothes, and also because of the white ribbon embroidered with gold, which he had only seen a few of in the royal capital. He guessed no one else would disguise themselves to meet him for the first time, which embarrassed Ellie, and she left immediately. Graham explained to Alan that it was her idea to meet him herself the first time and apologized to him. They entered the mansion, which was built to withstand severe cold because it was very warm. Graham called for the real maid, Ellie, to greet Alan. Ellie came rushing to greet Alan and almost fell, but Alan saved her from falling. Graham was annoyed by her running in the house because he had told her many times not to do that. But Alan wasn't bothered by her at all, and was happy she wasn't hurt, and he teased her, which greatly embarrassed Ellie. Graham saw that Alan was exactly as the professor had described him. Alan asked Graham what the professor had said about him, and Graham told him the professor had said he was naturally skilled at dealing with young girls. But Alan denied this description, saying he only had some experience dealing with those younger than him, nothing more. Alan proceeded to meet Duke Howard in his office and thanked him for accepting him for this job, then introduced himself. Howard greeted him and told him he had spoken with the professor, who had recommended him for this task, and that he looked forward to seeing his work. He came here to teach Latin to his daughter so she could join the Royal Academy, which shocked Howard. Alan felt he had been given incorrect information, but Howard asked him to make his daughter abandon any thoughts of joining the Royal Academy altogether. Alan asked Howard to make his daughter withdraw her application, but Howard would tell Alan a little about the Howard lineage. He told him they know about the 4 great ducal houses and that they contributed greatly to establishing the kingdom. These houses were granted vast lands in the 4 directions, and each duke protects his land. He also told him that the Howards had ruled the north on behalf of the crown for centuries and are proud of this, but this ended with him. He told him that Tina's mother died when Tina was young, and he only had 2 daughters left. Stella, the older one who joined the Royal Academy, but he couldn't claim she was gifted in magic, and he doubted she would ever master their family's magical heritage. As for Tina, his younger daughter, she doesn't possess any magical talent at all. She has mana but cannot use any magic spells. After being examined by a famous wizard, her condition remained unexplained, which surprised Alan. However, Howard sees that Tina has a high sense of responsibility, and since she is descended from their house, their duty toward her is to make her study magic and combat arts at the Royal Academy, despite other paths available to her. Alan wondered about these paths, but Howard thought it better for Alan to see for himself. They moved to the flower room, where Tina had planted flowers after reading books left by Howard's late wife, and Tina had begun studying how they grow in this land. Howard believed this research was a real treasure for the duchy, so he wanted her to continue this research here. Alan now understood what the professor had gotten him into, but he told Howard that Tina should choose her own path and master magic, after which she could join the Royal Academy. But would Howard allow her to? Howard told him he would allow it then, and made a promise to Alan. Alan said to himself that this girl has mana, but cannot use magic, and he thought this was a puzzle worth solving. They moved to the dining room, where Howard was celebrating Alan's arrival, and told him that it was their custom for servants to eat with them at the same table. Alan thought this was very good. Ellie and Tina came to them, and Howard asked them to join. They approached Alan, and Howard introduced them to each other. They got to know each other, and Alan told Tina that he had met Ellie in the carriage when it was very cold. This greatly embarrassed Tina, and Ellie didn't understand what he was talking about. Tina asked Alan to learn many things and had several questions she wanted to ask. Howard asked Alan something else about Ellie, which was for her to be under his supervision, and told him she was Graham's granddaughter and from the Walker family, which has served the Howards since ancient times. Graham agreed to this. Alan wondered, so you want Ellie to join the Royal Academy too? But Ellie showed them that she wasn't good at magic at all, and thought she would be a burden to him. Alan asked Ellie what she wanted to do. She told him she wanted to do what was asked of her. He asked, do you want to join the Royal Academy? Ellie answered that of course she wanted to, and that she wanted to be with Tina everywhere because she was her personal servant. Alan looked forward to teaching her. The black cat, Anko, appeared, and they were told it was the pet of the professor who recommended him, which greatly impressed them. The next day, Alan went to Tina's room, entered, and greeted her. But Tina asked him not to call her Your Highness or Lady, and to call her Tina. She also asked him not to lie to her, even if what he would say might be hurtful, as she could handle it. Alan agreed to this, and promised not to hold back. Before they began studying, he asked her to take a written test today, and told her that the entrance exam consists of 3 parts: a written test, a personal interview, and a practical magic exam. They should focus on practical magic, but he first wanted to know how ready she was for the written test. Tina asked, do they prepare a new written test every year? And she had heard it was very difficult. But Alan denied this, and told her there are patterns that repeat in the Academy's questions, like any other test, and no one notices because the Academy draws them from an archive spanning decades. He gave her a paper with a set of questions and asked her to do her best to solve them. Night fell, and we moved to Alan's room as he began correcting Tina's test. He saw that this girl rivaled Lydia in intelligence, and that Lydia had been a heavy burden on him. She is the eldest daughter of Duke Leinster, protector of the South. Despite being famous as the Lady of the Sword, she was also excellent in her studies and graduated from the Royal Academy and University ahead of her class. She had great magical power and mastered the Great Phoenix spell. At least academically, Tina matches her. The next day, we moved to the classroom, and Alan returned the test to Tina after reviewing it, which made Tina happy because she passed it. Alan told her she was qualified for the written test and could also achieve the highest score. Tina thanked Alan profusely, but Alan wanted to reduce the time preparing for the written test and focus on practical magic starting today. He told her she wouldn't know what she could do unless she tried, but Tina had tried repeatedly and failed, and told him she had many teachers before him and had disappointed them all. But Alan knows the feeling she's in now because it happened to him a short time ago, which surprised Tina. She told him that the professor said he was very good, and that Lady Lydia also became famous thanks to him. But Alan told her that people gossip about him because he was the only one who endured Lydia's whims, and that his mana level is much lower than last year, and they accepted him at the university because they thought he was good at controlling Lydia. Therefore, he knows that the Royal Academy is harsh, and that the lessons are difficult and tough, and half the students don't graduate on time. Before starting a lesson with her, he asked if she really wanted to join the Royal Academy, and not just because she felt it was her duty. But Tina wants to join the Academy, not out of duty, but because she loves plants. As a child, her mother used to read her an illustrated book, and she was always fascinated by the great spells used by legends, and she wanted to master such spells. But Alan thought no one could use great spells now, but he would try everything he could, and if she had the will and continued to progress, he would find the way. Tina thanked him for his confidence in her. Ellie came to them with a set of candles, and as she approached them, she almost fell again, but Alan succeeded in saving her for the second time in a row. He used his magic to prevent the candles from falling to the ground, and managed to place them on the table. Tina was annoyed by Alan and Ellie's closeness, and asked him to get away from her immediately. The lesson began, and Alan asked Tina about the basic elements of magic. She told him they are fire, water, wind, and other things, and that each person is born with a natural harmony with one of the 7 elements, which is the reason for their strength or weakness. Alan asked about the Howard family's special element. Tina believed they harmonize with water and wind elements and can combine them to use ice magic. Alan asked Tina about the meaning of harmony. He told her he cast a spell in the carriage to warm it and that this spell combined 3 elements, water, wind, and fire. He told her that water and fire are opposing elements, which contradicted the theory of harmony, and that this theory was his own, but he doesn't believe in a natural element that people are born with. He asked her to use different elements with an open mind and asked her to cast spells on these candles using the 7 elements. He asked Ellie which elements she could cast spells with. Ellie could use fire and a little wind. Alan asked Ellie to light the candles, and Ellie succeeded in this and lit the candle. Alan asked her again to use wind, and she succeeded in that too, which made Alan happy. He expected a bright future for her and was confident she would be ready for the admission test and might pass with honors, which surprised Ellie. He asked Tina to try now. Tina tried, and Alan felt the mana moving inside her, but she failed to light the candles and apologized to him. But he didn't want her to apologize, and he knew she had mana, but he needed to know why her spell wasn't activating. He would give them a demonstration because they would implement this themselves, so they needed to pay attention. He lit the candles with different colored flames, which amazed them. We moved to Lydia's house as she reads Alan's letter to her. He told her he would stay at Howard's house until spring and asked her to wish him success in proving his abilities without problems. Ellen continued to teach them magic, posing the question of why people were able to use it. Tina responded that people possessed mana and had mastered its use through research and effort. Ellen looked at the horizon and mentioned that scientific research had evolved and the number of magic users had increased, but the number of those capable of casting advanced spells was decreasing year after year. Now, ducal families had become synonymous with their extraordinary spells, like the Firebird, Ice Wolf, and Dragon of the Capital, but the number of those who could execute these spells had become extremely small, and their power was in constant decline. Tina, who had lived through 2 centuries of research and reform since the Demon King's War, asked Ellen if he meant that these efforts had been in vain, but Ellen clarified that he didn't mean that. Rather, the truth was that they had sacrificed quality for quantity. He believed that humans' ability to use magic was due to the help of elemental spirits they couldn't see, but Tina considered that experiments had refuted this theory, pointing out that fire spells didn't increase in power near volcanoes, where fire spirits were supposed to prevail. But Ellen had thoughts about how one could trust those experiments if they couldn't verify the power of spirits. He found this question unfair, but he believed Tina was superior in knowledge. Nevertheless, Tina thought Ellen was very mischievous. Then Ellen told them that the elements didn't matter much to the spirits, and that most of the magic formulas used today were designed to summon only one element. He asked them, if you were an elemental spirit, would you like to be asked to perform the same task over and over again? But they didn't think so. Therefore, Ellen was trying to improve his formula by adding gaps to it, and asked them to try it too, which astonished them. He asked Ellie, since she could use fire and wind magic, to use another magic. Ellie tried, but couldn't, and felt like a failure. But Ellen denied that to her, and asked her to calm down and try again. On the second try, she finally succeeded, and felt happy about this achievement, even though it was small. After that, it was Tina's turn. Tina tried to use magic, but she didn't succeed on the first try, and when he asked her to try again, Tina failed again, which saddened her. As night fell, Ellen went to the library and was amazed by the number of books in it. He started looking for a book that could help Tina. While he was searching, Tina arrived with her maid, who warned her not to stay in the place for long. Tina looked for a specific book and picked it up from the shelf, and when she found it, her personal maid spoke to her, telling her that she resembled her mother, who also loved reading, but that Tina was different from her mother because she couldn't use magic. Then the maid asked Tina about her new teacher, and saw that he had a mischievous side, but remembered what had happened with her in the carriage when she told her that he was very nice. Ellen was listening to all their conversation. After Tina left to her room, the maid realized that Ellen was there, which made Ellen feel embarrassed to be discovered. The maid introduced herself to him, and told him that she was Shelley, the head maid in the house, and that she wanted to ask him for something. Ellen asked her about her request, and she told him that it concerned Tina. She informed him that Tina was a very smart and hard-working girl, but that her previous teachers had ignored her efforts and only left because she lacked magical ability. She felt pain when each of them left, and would cry secretly, but she never gave up her dream of attending the Royal Academy. She remembered how she had told her that Ellen would come to train her, the very mind of the Sword Saint. Then Shelley added that he knew Tina admired him and Lydia very much. She asked for his help, and Ellen's response was to reassure her that he was here for that. Then we move on to the next day, where Tina felt angry when she thought that Ellen and Ellie were out on a date together. Ellen explained to her that he was picking vegetables with her. Ellie felt scared by Tina's reaction, and asked her what she thought of Ellen, and how she could go out out with him in the morning alone. But Ellie confessed to her that she loved Ellen very much, which pleased Tina, but also surprised her. Ellie clarified that she loved Ellen after her grandfather and grandmother, and also after loving herself, which made Ellen laugh at them. Ellen saw that they were just like sisters, but he thought that Tina was the older sister, which made her feel proud. But Ellie was a whole year older than her. But Tina never admitted that Ellie acted like the older sister. That angered Ellie, and she told her that she wouldn't let her sleep next to her again if there was thunder, which made Ellen laugh again. Tina and Ellie replied to Ellen that it wasn't funny. They continued to practice magic, where Ellen held Ellie's hand and asked her to feel the internal mana. He asked her if she felt anything, and Ellie felt a very strong warmth and the mana flowing through her. Ellen told her that she had experienced dark mana. He asked her to use magic after that, but she didn't succeed, so he told her that it was okay and that failing on the first try was normal. Then he asked Tina to try too, but her attempts also didn't succeed. Ellen urged her not to let it affect her and asked her to try something different. Ellen used his magic and showed them a new cat, which astonished them. Ellie asked Ellen to touch the cat, and even Tina wanted to before, but Ellen asked them not to fight. He conjured another cat and gave each of them a cat, which brought happiness to everyone. After the end of the day, while Ellen was on his way to his room, Graham handed him a private letter. He went to his room, believing that this letter was from Lydia and that she had replied to him quickly. Upon opening the letter, Lydia told him that she had received his letter and angrily asked why he had gone to Howard. She added that if he needed work, he should have come to her. She mentioned that she had met Tina several times and knew her situation perfectly well, and that he would face great difficulty. But she expected him to succeed if he did it, but she thought that was completely unlikely. Lydia warned that he should not think of his experiment with others, and confirmed that he had hidden something from her regarding the Royal Magician exam, and that he shouldn't do that, but she would see him at the Royal Academy exam, and if he ran away, she would chase him to the ends of the earth to tear him apart and burn what was left of him. Then she asked him to write her a letter every week. Then we moved to the training room after Ellen finished reading the letter, and Tina asked what Lydia wanted from Ellen. Ellen told her that Lydia was upset because he hadn't written to her much, and saw that Ellie found Lydia's interest in him great, while Tina thought that Lydia felt lonely after being separated from Ellen. But Ellen didn't think the reason was as nice as they thought. They continued training, and Ellie succeeded in using magic, but Tina didn't succeed again, and here Ellen was surprised when an ice glider appeared flying upwards. Ellen went to the library again to look for a solution, and said to himself that her spells were close to activation, and if he didn't find a solution in the modern books, he would go to the old books. While searching, he noticed a very strange sign. Then he left the library to find Ellie waiting for him. She went with them to her room and offered him a drink, and Ellen thanked her and called her Lady Ellie, which annoyed her, and she asked him why he called her that. She explained to him that she preferred him to call her informally, and asked him if that was only during training. She discovered that he was lying about that, and when he called her Ellie again, she calmed down. She told him that she preferred him to call her that always, but Ellen felt that she shouldn't let a strange man into her room at night, but she didn't see a problem with that. Then she told him that her grandfather and grandmother had called her recently and told her how much they loved her and hugged her tightly, which surprised her and made her ask why. They told her that they had a conversation about her, and Ellen gave her a little advice, remembering what he had talked about with Shelley about her strong ability and how talented she was. But Ellen felt that it was difficult for him to take advantage of this as he should, so he wanted her to tell them how much they meant to her, because having a loving family was her greatest support. Ellen returned to the present and told Ellie that he had a family that supported him in many situations. Ellie told that her father died when she was young, and she moved to live here with the Howard family. She still remembered the day she arrived at this house, and imagined the white snow and a girl trying to catch up with her wherever she went. Tina recently witnessed the loss of her mother, which made her feel worried. She and Ellie were of the same kind, and she was afraid because she was the heir to the Walker family, but none of her actions were successful. Before she knew it, Tina had surpassed her to the academy by far, and she feared there would be no place for her. She encouraged herself and asked Mr. Howard to allow her to enter the Royal Academy. Ellen saw this as just courage from her, because she wanted to make a path for herself, and also that she was talented. He asked her to be confident, which excited her. The next day, Ellie used her magic powerfully and succeeded in it, which led to Tina's sadness. Ellen asked him about Ellie's use of the rest of the elements, but Ellie was afraid of lightning and light. She told him that Inko helped her in the dark, and she thought she would master it soon. Then Ellen asked Tina to come forward to try magic, but she didn't succeed at all. She wondered why this was happening to her, but Ellen reassured them that they had time, and they would try a different spell formula. After that, Ellen went to Howard and told him that Tina's mana stock was huge, but he didn't guarantee that she was ready to pass the exam. Howard saw that he should dissuade her from applying, but Ellen thought that was wrong and stressed that he shouldn't incite her to do so if she really wanted to join. He explained that even if she was unable to use magic, the academy would take her academic genius into account. Howard was aware of this, but he knew that aristocratic society didn't make things easy, and he understood well that a girl from the Howard family without magic would be a target for fools at the academy. He didn't want his daughter to suffer as he himself had suffered. He told Ellen that if her situation didn't change, then he should carry out what he had asked of him. Ellen opposed this, but Howard begged him to do so. Then we moved to the training room, where Tina was trying to use her power but didn't succeed. Ellen came to her and offered to participate in her training, so she asked him if he minded, and he replied that he didn't mind at all. He asked her to continue, but Tina continued to try more than once without success. After that, Ellen went to his room, trying to find a solution to Tina's problem, but he didn't find a flaw in her formula. He wondered why it wasn't reacting. He drew a lot of magic circles on paper and was still thinking about a solution. The next day, Ellen woke up and thought he was late, and that he hadn't rested well because of staying up late. He went to the training room, where Tina was asleep. When she woke up, she saw Ellen sitting in front of her and apologized to him if he was the reason for waking her up. She looked at the book in his hand and asked him if he was reading it for her, but he denied it and told her that he was interested in it. But Tina discovered that he was lying and that he had learned to stay up late to read in this book, and that he hadn't brought breakfast in the morning because of that. She asked him how many books he had read for her, and how he had practiced the different spells with her every day, and helped her with training at night too. Ellen asked her not to worry about that because he liked reading and enjoyed modifying the formulas. He told her that he had fallen asleep that morning unusually, which made her feel that he wasn't angry with her and didn't blame her, and although she was unable to cast any of the spells, she expressed her feelings and asked him to forgive her. Tina cried a lot because she couldn't take it anymore. She told him that she loved and respected him, and that she loved Ellie very much as well. Whenever he praised her and saw her progress, she noticed the negative feelings within him, and suddenly, Tina unleashed a large, icy power that almost hurt Ellen. Fortunately, Ellie came, but Ellen asked her not to interfere in the room. Elin asked Eli to go and bring Mr. Graham. Then he tried to use a spell to stop the ice storm but failed. He couldn't break through it and felt like something was choking him. He had no choice but to brace himself, even though he didn't want to do this again. Then he called out to Tina and asked if she could hear him. We switched to Tina, who was behind the ice wall, and heard Ellen's voice, wondering what was happening to him. Elin told her that her energy was wild right now, and if it stayed that way, she would run out and probably die. Tina asked what she should do. Elin said he would link his energy with hers to control her power, as he had done successfully before. He warned it wasn't comfortable but asked her to let him do it. Elin used his power to connect their energy, risking his own life because Tina trusted him. He searched for her and finally found her. The connection was really hard on him, and he saw a huge amount of mana and discovered the extent of her hidden abilities. Her powers rivaled Lydia's, and maybe even surpassed them. Elin then heard Tina talking to herself, asking why she couldn't use magic and calling herself a useless cursed child. Her thoughts flooded Elin's mind. He called her again, and an ice dragon appeared behind Tina. He realized she was trying to help by strengthening the storm. The timing was perfect for Ellen to use his power. He unleashed a phoenix that successfully melted the ice and revealed Tina. Ellen approached Tina and hugged her, feeling relieved she was okay. He looked up to see the dragon disappearing, but before it vanished, it told him he'd found the last key. Elin was surprised and asked Tina if she'd heard or seen anything in the storm. She didn't hear anything, but said she felt strange because of their connection. Elin forgot they were still linked and broke the connection. He almost went to get Eli because she was worried about them, but Tina asked him to stay and keep holding her. She told him he was her only teacher. Elin agreed. Later, Eli arrived with Graham to check on Elin and Tina. Eli was happy for Tina. Elin remembered Lydia's warning not to experiment with this on anyone else and thought to come up with a good excuse for her. Elin fainted and almost fell, but Graham caught him. Back in Elin's room, Tina and Elin were worried about him. Eli went to get him some tea. Tina asked if what happened was because of their link. Elin told her not to worry, but admitted it was surprising. When he links with someone, he can only share their thoughts and feelings. Tina reminded him he called her Princess Poison earlier, which made her angry. She demanded an explanation since she had told him not to call her that again. Elin tried to downplay it, saying he'd uncovered some details about this ability, that he could control his partner's mana, and that their will influenced how much mana they could use. Once a link is formed, reconnecting later is easy. Tina asked if he'd done this before. Elin confirmed he had linked mana with his sister, Karen. Tina then asked if he did this with Lydia. He admitted he had no choice at the time. He explained that linking magical energy means holding the other's life in your hands. It's powerful but dangerous, letting him use someone else's energy as he wishes. and that he has to be careful. He asked her to keep this secret between them. She was surprised he trusted her with this and promised not to tell anyone, not even Eli. Night came, and Ellen started probing what was inside Tina, asking about their connection. He said he needed to investigate further. They moved to a new training place for magic. Ellen was really impressed with the spot and asked Tina to try her magic here. Tina stepped forward to light the candles, but suddenly she showed a huge surge of power after successfully casting her spell, surprising everyone. Elin wondered if what was inside Tina affected the results. He remembered the dragon and realized it no longer blocked her spells. Maybe his magic link with her leaked some control over magic to her. Elin encouraged Tina, telling her they'd now work on controlling the strength of her spells. Tina hugged Elin and cried because she could finally use magic. Elin reassured her that her efforts weren't wasted and told her she was amazing. Eli was happy for Tina and cried with joy too. Tina thanked her. With a bit more training, Ellen believed Tina would control her magic more freely, and that both would be ready for the Royal Academy. He planned to tell Walter, but Graham said Walter was on a mission and wouldn't return soon. Elin thought Walter would be happy to hear the news and missed telling him. Elin went to his room and wrote a letter to the professor. We then switched to the professor in his office receiving the letter. One of Elin's friends came by asking about Elin. The professor said he just got a letter from him and jokingly called him the sixth professor drowning in gambling debts, making Ellen's friend laugh, but the professor corrected him, saying he was the fifth and needed to fix that. Elin's friend joined him to read the letter, which said Tina succeeded in using her magic and casting spells. Elin requested military-grade magical scrolls for ice resistance barriers, so his dear student wouldn't turn into an ice statue before he saw her again. The friend thought Ellen was enjoying this, but the professor said transporting military supplies wasn't easy. Still, who expected the little princess to show such power? It was typical of Ellen. Back to Ellen's room, he kept studying but found no clues until he opened the next book and recognized the same wolf symbol from before. He started thinking about it. In the training room, Elin asked Eli to light candles using dark magic. She tried but failed, yet Elin didn't give up on her. He told her to focus fully on darkness and remember how she felt when she touched Inko. She looked at Inko and then successfully lit the candles. Elin encouraged her and asked Tina to try. Tina stepped forward, supported by Eli. Tina showed her magic power but in a massive way. Elin told her to use her mind to control and restrain it. Since Eli was making steady progress, Elin suggested moving on to combat training, which made Tina jealous of how Elin treated Eli. But Eli thought Elin was very kind. Tina asked him to be kinder to her too. Elin said there's no room for fussiness in magic training. Tina felt this was unfair and protested, but Elin told her no girl destroys the ceiling every time she uses her magic and still asks for kindness. Tina said she needed that kindness because she wasn't reaching her potential, blaming Ellen for neglecting his duty. Elin thought she now reminded him of someone he knew, and remembered he hadn't heard from her since that last message. He wondered what she was doing now, and thought of Lydia. Tina asked Ellen if he'd just been daydreaming. Eli asked what he was thinking about. Tina told him to tell her now. They held him, and Ellen remembered Graham telling him he had a natural talent dealing with girls, though Ellen immediately denied it. Eli then used offensive magic and started attacking Graham. Graham dodged her attacks, surprising Elin because Graham showed no unnecessary moves. Tina explained that the Walker family trained every day to improve their household service. Graham then struck back at Eli, but she expertly blocked all his blows. Elin was happy and told her to keep it up. Then he said it was Tina's turn. Tina stepped up to light the candles. She nearly succeeded in controlling her power, but the task was very hard. We switched to Graham's room, where he was amazed by Tina's progress, especially with her zeal. He was very grateful to Elin for that. Elin thought it was thanks to their dedication. He asked if Graham would meet Walter soon, but Graham said Walter was busy. Elin felt the silence meant Walter was avoiding him. He asked Graham what he thought Walter would feel, learning Tina had mastered magic. Graham told Ellen everything he could. Then Ellen Graham asked another question about the books in the archive. He found several books with the same mark on the last page and asked if he knew who they belonged to, but Graham didn't know. Then we moved to Ellen's room, where he started reading the marked books. The secret of Tina's magic might be hidden within them. He thought of the dragon again and wondered what it meant by the key. He also wondered if it was referring to Tina, as it couldn't be him, since he was just a commoner. Then Tina and Ellie came to them. Tina told Ellen that Ellie couldn't sleep, but Ellie revealed Tina's lie, saying that she, Ellie, was the one who went to Tina's room and told her she was scared of the book she was reading, which was why she couldn't sleep. But Ellen asked them to go to their rooms and sleep so it wouldn't affect their training. However, they didn't want to and stayed in his room. Elin offered them hot drinks, which made them like him a lot. Elin asked them not to make any noise so he could continue his research. Then Elin discovered that all the books with the same mark shared something something in common. He looked behind him and saw Tina and Ellie had fallen asleep. This made him even more excited to get them to join the Royal Academy together. Then we moved to the training hall. Graham told Ellen that Lord Walter wanted to meet him. Elin immediately agreed and asked Tina and Ellie to take a rest. Then we moved to Walter's office. Walter told Elin that he had decided Tina would not take the entrance exam, but Elin assured Walter that Tina would pass the entrance exam with flying colors. However, Walter tried to tell Ellen that it was no longer his concern and that he didn't want Tina to be a burden on anyone within the academy. This angered Ellen, who told him that he hadn't seen anything yet and that it wasn't just his concern anymore, and that Tina's mother, Princess Rosa, also had her own wishes. Walter asked Ellen how a stranger like him knew what his wife wanted, but with one look in their archive, Ellen knew. The books on ice magic carried the same owner's mark, which was Princess Rosa's mark. She must have hoped to help Tina develop her magical talent, and she believed that if she couldn't do it herself, someone else would do it on her behalf. He showed him the book as proof of this, and the mark was the biggest evidence, which shocked Walter. After that, he asked Walter to reconsider his decision, and as for his rudeness, he was ready for punishment, but Walter asked him to raise his head, saying he was too kind. But Ellen didn't want Tina to give up on her dream. Then Walter agreed, but with one condition. Then Ellen moved to the training hall and told them that if they succeeded in the final test, Walter would allow them to apply for the Royal Academy entrance exam. Tina asked what would happen in the final test. Elin told her that Walter wanted to test their abilities himself, but he was busy, so he would appoint a skilled wizard to fight them on his behalf. This made them scared, but Ellen asked them not to worry and that he was completely confident that they would succeed because he was proud of them as his students. This made them feel very embarrassed and they were very grateful to him. They started training for close combat in the training hall. Ailey aimed several strikes at Elin, but he managed to dodge them. Then the two of them worked together. Ailey cast a spell on Elin, but he avoided it. However, he couldn't dodge Tina's strike. Tina caught him and thought she would win today, but Ailey got annoyed that she was thinking on her own and that they would win together. While they were busy, they forgot about their opponent, and Ellen managed to break free and reminded them to never lose focus on their enemy no matter what. Then Tina and Ailey used spells together, casting them at Elin. At the same time, Elin was ready, which caused their spells to collide, creating a big smoke in the room that made it hard to see. Ellen then used his power to create two water spheres above them, clearing the smoke. He told them they lost. He came closer and praised Tina's trap, telling Ailey she had improved but still had a lot to learn. He also informed them that in their final test, they'd face a wizard personally chosen by Duke Walter, who might use advanced spells, and they had to fight with all their strength. Ellen asked Tina to keep working on controlling her power since the exam was coming soon. He said he would be with them all the time to teach them everything they needed, but for today, training was enough. Then Ailey and Tina went to wash up. Tina enjoyed showering right after training. She asked Ailey if they could win the final exam since it was so close. Ailey didn't know, but Tina guessed Ailey would do well because Graham and Shelley trained her. Ailey said any servant of Howard would be expected to do well, and they thought it was impressive. Tina believed Ellen was amazing, and that neither she nor Ailey could let him down. They held each other, and Tina promised Ailey they would go to the academy together. Suddenly, Ailey lost consciousness, which worried Tina. They went to Ellen's room, where he checked on Ailey and found she'd stayed too long in the bath and got dizzy. Ellen also cast a spell on Tina to help dry her hair. He said he used to use it often before. They both asked who he used it on, and Elin said it was for his sister, Karen, who would be their senior classmate at the academy. They returned to the training hall and were told to start attacking him again. Ailey cast a strong spell, but Elin blocked it. On the other side, he dodged an ice arrow from Tina, but Tina didn't stop. She showed magical circles and fired many arrows. Some Elin dodged, some he blocked. While Elin was busy with Tina's attacks, Ailey appeared above him and struck, but he dodged again. She tried to restrain him, but he was hit by another arrow from Tina and was successfully injured. Elin praised them, making them happy. They asked to keep training, but Elin said to stop since the final test was tomorrow and they needed to save some energy. Night fell, and Elin went back to the library to keep searching for books. He told himself that this next book might finally reveal what he had seen before. He remembered his vision again. Tina appeared behind him, and he asked why she was there so late. Tina said she couldn't sleep and wanted to visit her plants to lift her spirits. She saw the light glowing and asked if he was worried she wouldn't make it to the Royal Academy if she failed tomorrow. Elin was confident things wouldn't come to that and said both she and Ailey would succeed. Tina asked Ellen to listen for a bit, and when he agreed, she told him that when she was little, she used to beg her mother to read the illustrated book to her because she loved legends and powerful spells. She had seen pictures of the little bird, the burning lion, and the icy bird that froze everything a now extinct crane species. She once thought these great spells were real, which is why she wanted to go to the capital academy. This was the story her mom left her, and Tina wanted to prove it was true. She told Ellen he was the first she shared this with, and Ellen thanked her for trusting him. Elin picked up the book and asked if she wanted to take a look. Tina grabbed it and stared at it carefully. Elin told her every book had the royal seal on the last page. He didn't know Tina's mother personally, but from the notes she left, he understood how important she was for children after her time. He also said the spells they study are partly based on those notes, with some adjustments from him. Then he closed the book, and Tina hugged him. She promised she'd win tomorrow and go to the Royal Academy. The next day, Tina and Ailey met, both anxious. Ellen appeared and told them not to worry, they would definitely win. They entered the arena where Shelley was waiting. Shelley told Ellen to go to the platform because he wasn't allowed in, which he knew. Shelley gave Tina a wrapped item, and when she opened it, it was a wand. Shelley explained it belonged to Tina's mother, Rosa, who entrusted Shelley to keep it safe and give it to Tina when she learned magic. Tina was amazed, but her confidence grew, and Shelley was happy to fulfill her duty to Rosa. Ailey approached Shelley next. Shelley told her to give it her best and trust herself greatly. Tina told Ailey to head out, and they told Ellen they'd use everything he taught them. Ellen wished them luck. Then they moved to the ring. Graham told them their opponent would be Mr. Walter, though he was hidden. Elin discovered Walter's mask was a spell to block perception. Walter told the girls that if they wanted to enter the Royal Academy, they must defeat him, and he demanded they face him with all their energy. They cast a barrier, and Graham told them to start. Walter attacked, but Ailey struck him away. He attacked again, caught Ailey, and threw her far. While Ailey was in the air, she cast a spell, took control of Walter, and froze him on the ground, making Shelley proud. Then Tina surrounded Walter with magical circles and fired ice arrows at him. He wasn't affected. Tina used her special wand to restrain him, but he broke free immediately. Walter attacked Tina, but Ailey pushed her out of the deadly strike. When he was about to attack again, Ailey pinned him down, and Tina shot an ice arrow, but he blocked it. They then trapped him in a swirl of black fog. Seeing Walter couldn't see, they launched a double strike, but Walter wasn't hit. Walter told them he was proud of their skill, and cast a very large spell. Elin saw it was an advanced spell from the twin ice pillars. Ailey got very nervous and couldn't use her magic, but Tina told her to calm down and that they'd do as Elin taught them. Elin encouraged them. The two prepared their magic for Walter's strike. Walter delivered a hit, but Tina blocked it with fireballs. She also used ice arrows, and they successfully defended themselves. Elin was surprised by Tina's defense and a spell he hadn't taught her. Shelley was proud of Tina. Tina saw that they were now ready for the academy tests. She told Walter to admit defeat. Walter didn't expect them to get this far. Ailey told Walter to give up since fighting them was pointless, but he kept attacking. He used an extremely powerful spell, and Elin thought the barrier wouldn't hold. He told everyone to get back to avoid harm, telling Shelley the same. Elin stepped onto the battlefield and asked Haragaham to act as referee for him. Haragaham thought this would be very dangerous. Elin knew but was used to it, whether good or bad. Walter scolded the girls, asking if their teacher never taught them to attack when the chance comes. Tina was surprised. She thought only her father could use that spell. Ailey asked how they could face that, but she didn't lose hope. They'd find a way since they were Ellen's students. Tina thought the same. They said they'd win and go to the academy together. Walter summoned the Blizzard Wolf, the highest level spell of the Howard House. Ellen gave Graham reverse barriers and told them to set up a second barrier outside just in case. Then Elin approached the girls, but they refused his presence so he wouldn't get hurt. Then Ailey remembered what he told her when he wanted her to use two types of magic at once. She did just that, which caused the wolf pain, but it wasn't affected. Then Tina remembered Ellen's encouragement and successfully froze the wolf, but Walter didn't stop either. He unfroze the wolf and told them if they wanted to resist, they should cast a spell of their own on it. Then the wolf roared at them, knocking them to the ground, but they weren't completely affected. Then Elin asked Tina to use the Storm Wolf spell, and she hadn't trained on it, but he asked her to try. Tina thought this was impossible, but Elin told her she could, and asked Ailey to support her. Then Ailey held the staff with Tina, and they revealed the magic circle. Then Walter attacked them with his wolf, and they also succeeded in revealing their own other wolf. The wolves collided with each other, and Walter was surprised by this, but he knew they were beginners at this. He attacked again, but there was a barrier to block his wolf, and the wolves roared in each other's faces. Walter asked them, "Is this all you've got?" But Tina told him they could continue, and they kept attacking. Tina untied a ribbon from her hair and tied it to the staff because that's what her mother told her to do when she took things seriously. Then she asked her mother to give her strength, and asked Ailey to put in all her effort. Then her mother's power appeared, and she delivered another strong blow, which destroyed Walter's wolf and shattered his mask, revealing a great ice power that pierced through the battle room and reached the sky. Everyone was astonished by this. Then they moved to the train station to go to the capital. Graham asked Ailey to listen to Ellen. Then Walter came, and Shelley asked about his wounds, but he was fine. Then Tina apologized to her father, but he was very impressed with her test and that he almost thought she was Rosa. He told her he was sorry for everything and that he was afraid for her because he couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Then Tina hugged him, but he felt pain from his wounds. Then she told him she was leaving and asked him to take care of the plants in her absence. Walter agreed to this. Then Ailey told Tina that the train was about to leave, and she immediately got on with her. Ailey asked Tina if she forgot anything, but Tina was well prepared. Walter saw that it was a father's duty to send his daughter out into a wide world, and that his wife also wished for that for her sake. Then he approached Ellen and told him he trusted him, but Walter and Graham warned him not to touch any of their daughters. After Elin got on, he told them he was waiting for them in the capital, and the train started moving. Alan went to Lydia's house and was struck from behind, but he blocked it and said that attacking from behind is a bad habit. Then Lydia appeared before him, looking very angry, and she said, "Thanks for the advice, Alan." She asked him who he thought he was to make her wait for him so long, but Alan told her he wasn't late, though they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Still, Alan should have been in his seat before Lydia reached him. Plus, her magic never worked on him. He could dispel it without any effort. Lydia threatened that if he kept talking nonsense, she'd cut him off. Then Lydia sat down and Alan apologized, but she asked what exactly he was apologizing for. Alan explained he was sorry for accepting the teaching job without consulting her, for not coming to see her since he returned to the royal capital, and for not telling her the reason behind his failure in the royal mage examination. After apologizing for all his mistakes, Lydia asked him for a hug. Alan hugged her, and she told him not to leave again without letting her know. Alan promised to do his best, and Lydia hugged him tightly, making Alan feel some pain. She wanted to hear from him that he wouldn't do it again and that he was asking for forgiveness. Alan jokingly asked Lydia if he'd become her servant. Then he apologized again. A maid came in to serve tea, welcomed Alan back, and put the tea on the table. She whispered to Alan that Lydia had spent a lot of effort choosing her dress today, but Lydia told the maid she'd heard everything. After the maid left, Lydia asked Alan to sit with her, and Alan showed her a small gift as a token and gave it to her. He also told her the dress really suited her and that she looked very pretty, which made Lydia feel embarrassed. Alan said in one of his letters he'd congratulated her for passing the Royal Mage exam and that she would be graduating from university soon. Lydia thought Alan would come to her graduation, right? Alan told her that the professor had asked him to attend, but he felt a bit nervous about it. Alan asked Lydia if anyone had ever graduated second in class without a ready job. Lydia was surprised and asked if Alan planned to continue teaching, but he said he wasn't thinking about it and didn't consider himself suited for it. Then he drank his tea. Lydia asked Alan what he thought. She told him Tina had become able to use magic, but Alan said a lot had happened. Lydia suspected Alan was hiding something from her, but Alan said he didn't mean to. There were just a lot of things concerning Tina's mana that he wanted to study more. Lydia then asked about the entrance exam and if he was confident in Tina. Alan thought they'd started the written exam by now and that Tina would get first place this year and Ailey would get a top rank too. However, Lydia's younger sister was also there, and it would be hard for Tina to get first. Alan thought Lydia's sister Lynn was a remarkable student, but she'd have tough competition because Tina used an advanced spell almost right after learning magic, and Alan only knew one other person who could match Herond. She was also a genius. Lydia told him that the results would be out in a week, and asked him to visit her daily from now on, saying it was an order. Alan quickly agreed, which made Lydia thankful. Then we moved to Walter's house. He was reading a letter and hadn't expected Tina to get first place, almost the highest score in history, and Ailey also passed with honors. Walter told Alan that Alan never stopped amazing him. Alan explained to Walter that both girls were excellent students and asked him to praise them. Walter praised the girls and told Tina she was the family's pride now. He also thanked Alan a lot and asked if he'd like to be a private tutor, which surprised the girls. Alan appreciated the offer, but declined. Ailey asked Alan why he'd refuse, and Walter thought it was because Alan was worried about the royal capital. Walter didn't blame Alan for what happened during the royal mage exam. Alan asked Walter if he knew about it. Walter, as a duke, hears about all serious matters. Tina asked Alan if he actually took the exam, and he said yes. Walter had heard that Alan had passed the written and interview portions, but failed the practical, which made both girls angry. They couldn't believe Alan would fail any exam at all. Tina got so angry that her mana appeared. Walter revealed to them that the examiner facing Alan in the practical was Prince Gerard II, who provoked Alan before the exam, even insulting Lydia's family. Alan asked Walter to stop talking, but Tina and Ailey insisted on knowing the whole story. Walter continued, saying that during the practical, Alan dispelled all of the prince's spells and even defeated him in a sword match, but the prince didn't show Alan any respect. The examiners couldn't ignore the prince, so they decided not to evaluate Alan's performance. Alan told them he wasn't upset. Walter asked Alan if he had no regrets about losing the chance to be a royal mage, something he must have dreamed of since he joined the academy. Alan admitted he was an orphan and didn't know his real parents. The parents and the sister he had now were from the Wolf clan and not his blood relatives, but they raised him with kindness and love. Lydia also thought about him sometimes. Alan said he wasn't mature enough to just smile off such insults, but he didn't want to drag those he owed so much to into this affair. Walter disagreed, saying the Howard family was Alan's ally and would always support him. Alan thanked Walter a lot. Then Tina also refused to accept the situation, saying she would never part from Alan, and she left. Afterwards, Alan went to look for Tina and found her standing alone. He approached her, and Tina asked Alan if he was really going to resign. Alan thought they'd be fine without him now, but Tina cried and told him it wouldn't work. So Alan told her he would resign now but stay on as their teacher and that he'd come if they ever needed him. Then the professor came and told Alan there was a lot of work ahead, but Alan got angry and asked why the professor seemed so happy. The professor replied that he was happy because one of his dear students would be spared the return journey home. He advised Alan to stay and keep teaching Tina, telling him to agree and promising to keep it a secret. Alan asked in surprise if that was a threat, but the professor, as his academic advisor, couldn't stand to see Alan's talent go to waste. Alan told the professor it was impossible and asked who had set all this up. The professor told Alan he hadn't done it, Walter did, and he wanted to talk to Alan, asking him to include Tina in that meeting. Then he handed Alan a contract to rehire him and asked for his signature, which left Alan shocked. We then moved to Tina's room. Eiley was with her and asked if something was wrong, since Tina was acting strange and staring off into space. Tina denied it and said she was fine, just a bit busy with her entrance ceremony speech. Then Stella, Tina's older sister, arrived, making Tina happy that Stella had returned. Tina hugged her, saying she'd really missed her since Stella didn't come home during winter break, but Stella had been very busy with the student council. Eiley asked Stella if she was the student council president and said that was something to be proud of. Tina asked Stella if she'd seen their father yet, but Stella hadn't. Then Stella congratulated them on passing and told Tina she was surprised Tina got first place, especially since she'd only just learned magic. Tina said it was all thanks to teacher Alan, and Stella noted that Tina had mentioned Alan a lot in her letters and called him a bit of a bully, but she wanted to meet him to thank him. Tina said Alan would be at the entrance ceremony, so Stella would see him there. Tina asked Stella if she had time today, or if she'd have to go back to her dorm, but Stella was staying until the evening, so they talked a lot. The next day, Tina and Eiley moved into their new school and were very happy. Then Alan came and greeted them, and both girls greeted Alan back. Sherry wondered if Alan had dressed up for the occasion, but he explained that he did only because Lydia threatened to set him on fire. Alan told the girls he lived in the workers' district, and it took a lot of courage for him to go out dressed like this. Eiley was impressed with the uniform. Eiley asked Tina if something was wrong, but Tina replied that nothing was. Alan congratulated the girls on starting at the new school and said the uniform suited them, then fixed the slanted ribbon on Eiley's outfit. Eiley thanked Alan and told him she had heard he would stay as their teacher and was very happy about that. But Alan is also happy about this and hopes to have many lessons with them. Ellie asked Alan what made him change his mind, but Alan told her it was for different reasons. Then Sherry informed the girls that school time had arrived, but Tina felt anxious. Alan reassured her and told her he would be with her watching as she delivered her speech. After that, they entered the school. Ellie said goodbye to Alan and her grandmother. Then Lynn came to Alan and greeted him, telling him the uniform suits him very well. Alan thanked Lynn profusely and asked her not to call him that way, as it causes misunderstandings. Then Duchess Lisa came, but Lisa didn't like Alan calling her Duchess. Alan then addressed her as Madam until Lisa told him that was good and told him he was like her son and asked him to stop being so formal. Alan thanked Lisa and told her this also causes misunderstandings, but Lisa asked him what he meant. Alan immediately backtracked. Then Lisa informed Alan that Lydia had left this morning to appoint a witch to the palace and was muttering with discontent and complaining because she wanted to attend the enrollment ceremony. Alan thought Lydia wanted to see Lynn's supervisory appearance, but the maid told him this wasn't the only reason and informed him that she would document today's events in a viewing orb for Lydia to watch whenever she wanted. We then move inside the party and Tina felt extremely anxious while Ellie tried to calm her down. Then it started raining, but Lena thinks rain is better than snow and that she can't stand the cold. Then Ellie asked Lena, "Aren't you the Duke of Leinster's daughter?" But Tina knew she was Lena, Lydia's younger sister, and also told her that she hates heat, which made Lena angry. Then Lena told Tina that she had taken first place from her and doesn't see any need for competition between them, and told her that she could give the speech instead of her if it makes her feel embarrassed. But Tina told her that she has a miracle that teaches teacher Ellen gave her, and she won't give it up no matter what happens. Then we move to Ellen and Lisa told Ellen that the ceremony will start now. One of the students stepped forward to give her speech, and Ellen was surprised that it was Karen. Lisa told Ellen that Karen is on the student council. Then Karen started speaking and told them that the ceremony will start now, and she will be the ceremony host. She introduced herself as Karen, vice president of the student council, and she's from the Wolf clan and looks forward to working with them. But everyone started asking why people from Beast clans are present at the Royal Academy, which made Ellen angry. Then the maid told Ellen that he looks very scary, but he didn't mean it. But the maid told him that the Leinsters will take care of them and asked him not to worry. Then Karen asked everyone to look at the sky, and a man appeared flying in the sky. Karen told them that this is the one who put up a barrier against the rain, and he is their director, Lord Rod, and he will address you shortly. She told them that they will now listen to a speech from a representative of the new batch students, Tina. Then Tina stepped forward to give her speech, and Ellen saw that she was very nervous and almost fell to the ground, but Karen supported her and asked her to make a great effort. Then Tina started speaking and introduced herself, saying she felt extremely embarrassed when they told her she would give a speech. She told them she was born in Duke Howard's house, and that she couldn't cast a single spell until she turned 13, and thought she had no right to dream, but she had no choice but to live her life without great hopes. But she's at school now, and she can use magic just 3 months ago, and she wonders if she's dreaming or not. She learned magic thanks to someone she met, and she's very grateful to him, so much that she can't thank him enough. Her dream was always to use magic, but this no longer satisfies her, and she wants to learn more and more spells, so she can repay this beautiful person, and so she can someday pass on the miracles she received to someone else. She's chasing this new dream now, and maybe she can't imagine how rough and difficult the road ahead will be, but she can't give up because she now knows that dreams come true. This amazed the other students as Tina created ice in the air and asked her classmates to work hard together. Then she looked at Ellen and told him that she will catch up to him someday and asked him to get ready. She gave thanks and left, and Ellen and Lisa applauded her. Lisa felt that Lydia would be jealous of this. Then Karen spoke and told everyone that the next speech is by Stella Howard. Then Stella Howard stepped forward and introduced herself and congratulated the new students on succeeding to reach the school. Ellen discovered that this is Tina's older sister. Then Stella continued speaking and told them that this school has the highest standards in the kingdom, and since you were accepted here, you should feel proud. She told them that this school is very strict in its rules, and that the school's reality is harsh and the training is intensive, which may crush many people's hopes and dreams, but it will also make your growth fast and amazing. When she came to school, she was closer to the bottom of the class than the top, despite being the eldest daughter of Duke Howard, but now she stands before them as student council president. She assured them that if they continue to progress, they will find their way forward, and asked them never to give up, and that she looks forward to meeting them at school with great passion. Lisa saw that Stella is a good example of Duke Howard's eldest daughter, and that Lydia needs some of her seriousness, but the maid thinks that Lydia is very serious. Then Karen said now it's time for the school director's speech, but Ellen knows that the director gives long speeches and told Lisa that she might receive a sleep spell. Then a maid came to Maid Anan and whispered to her. Then Anan said to Lisa that Lydia is in big trouble. Then we moved to Lydia, who was in a big confrontation facing a group of soldiers. Lydia told the soldiers that she chooses for people how they die, but she didn't give them this choice and threatened them that she will cut them and burn them. Lydia attacked the knights and knocked them all down. Their leader asked if she thought he'd let her insult him, saying he couldn't do this even in a million years, which led to the rest of the knights trying to resist her. The leader got angry and asked her, "Do you realize what you're doing?" Then she pointed her sword at Gerard and told him he was next, which scared Gerard. He asked the other knights to protect him, but Alan appeared at the right moment and asked them to stop. This made Lydia's brother happy, as he had been waiting for him. Then Lydia asked Alan, "Why are you here?" Alan told her he received a message and came quickly. Alan asked Lydia what happened to ruin this day. Then the king appeared and asked them, "What is all this chaos?" He asked Lydia to explain what was happening now, but Lydia told him this wasn't the right place, and that she thought he knew. Then Gerard approached his father, the king, and told him that it all started when his friends advised Lydia that she couldn't pretend to be stupid forever. They told her to choose her acquaintances carefully, but instead of showing gratitude, she got angry at them and used violence, calling it an outrageous act. Then Lydia's brother came forward and asked Gerard, "Have you ever thought about how his actions damaged the reputation of the royal guard?" But Gerard told him it was a coincidence. He met him here and asked him to save his advice for his sister, because that fool refused to marry him repeatedly. Then he asked his father, the king, to punish this girl. Then Alan approached the king and asked permission to speak, but Gerard told Alan to know his limits and reprimanded him, saying it was none of his business. After the king allowed Alan to speak, Alan began and told the king that Lydia was known by the title Lady of the Sword and would never draw her sword without reason. He had spent 4 years by her side and knew this better than anyone else. She told him that she shouldn't explain her actions here, and asked for her intentions to be considered. This made Gerard angry, and he reprimanded Alan, telling him that people like him shouldn't even set foot in the Leinster family's homes. He described him as a failure and unfit to join the court magicians. Then he told him that his family was from the Wolf clan. Wasn't that right? Maybe the animal stench transferred to Lydia too, and who but beasts resorts to violence so quickly? Then Alan told Gerard that he would accept any personal insult, but he wouldn't stand idly by while Lydia's and his family's reputations were stabbed. He told him that his words were like a sharp blade capable of wounding the heart. Then he told him he would assume that Lydia had drawn her sword, and this would be a response to Gerard's sword of words. Then the king asked them to stop and sentenced Lydia and Gerard to 1 month of house arrest. He also forbade Gerard from being with them from now on. This made Gerard very angry at his father. Then Lydia and Alan walked together, and Alan thought it was a fair judgment from the king, considering his past reputation. He told her she lost her temper to defend him and thanked her. Then Professor Gill arrived, and Gill was happy with what Alan did. Alan was surprised they were there too. Alan asked the professor if he was just sitting there watching while his students were in danger. Lydia asked him to be useful for once, but Gill told them that the king came because the professor initiated the matter. Then the professor told them that the king happened to be nearby, and he was the one who signaled for him to come. Lydia's brother said that this was a good ending that forgives what came before it. Then, Lydia's maid said it was amazing that the heir to the Leinster family was helpless to do anything out of fear of his sister. It seems he needs to deal with cobblestones after a long break. Lydia's brother asked to return to his duties. Then we moved to the academy, and Illy and Tina finished the party, and Shelley was waiting for them outside. Tina wondered where Alan went. Then Shelley told them he went to see Lydia because she was in big trouble. Tina wondered why he disappeared in the middle of the party. Then Illy suggested they go to the Leinster residence immediately. Then, they saw Lydia's younger sister going to her residence, and took this opportunity to go with her in her private carriage. Illy confessed to Lynn that they wished for this opportunity and that it came to them. Then Tina asked the driver to move the carriage now. Then the carriage moved in the direction of Lydia's residence. Then we moved to Lydia's residence, and Alan was leaving. He asked Lydia to thank Lysia, her older sister, but Lydia asked Alan to spend the night with them. However, Alan told her he shouldn't do this suddenly, but Lydia told him it was only one night, but Alan told her he had lessons to prepare for and would come again. Then he left, but Lydia asked him to stop again. Then she hugged him from behind and asked him not to look at her and to listen to her words. She told him not to forget that he couldn't stay away from her, and it was okay if she was the Duke's daughter and Alan was a commoner. If anyone tried to separate them, she would give up her title and travel abroad with him. Alan was about to speak, but she asked him not to look at her. Then she asked him to visit her every day as a punishment. He tried to look at her, but she hit him until he stopped. Then Alan told her he would come as much as he could. Then Lynn arrived with Illy and Tina, and Alan asked why they were there. Tina told him they were worried about him. Illy asked Alan what he was doing there. Then Alan told them he was just talking. Then Illy asked Alan again, "What were you talking about?" Then Lydia congratulated Tina for getting first place. Tina thanked Lydia, saying it was all thanks to Alan, and that she reached this academy through his teaching. Then Lynn told Tina that she would defeat her in the next exam and confirmed it to her, but Tina wouldn't let her do this, and a fight broke out between them. Then Lydia suggested to Lynn that she study under Alan, and Lynn wondered if she could do this. Lydia told her that she would talk to their mother about this. Then Lydia asked Alan to teach all of them at his house, and she wouldn't accept his refusal. Alan agreed to this. Then Tina told them that she didn't want to study with Lynn. Lynn asked Tina, "Are you afraid I'll surpass you?" Then we moved to the academy. Karen saw Alan, her brother, from the window. She went to meet him and told him she had been waiting for him. But Alan apologized, saying he was busy today. Then she grabbed him and asked him to come with her. They entered her office. Karen told Alan that she had heard about his teaching work and what happened with Lydia too, which made Alan think that Karen was worried about him, but Karen wanted him to be more careful with her now. Alan then told her, of course, he would do that. Then he told her that her performance was excellent at the party. Then she patted him. Stella then entered and was surprised when she saw them, but Karen introduced Alan to Stella and told her that he was her brother, which greatly surprised Stella and put her in shock until Karen zapped her to bring her back to consciousness. Then Karen introduced Stella to Alan and told Alan that she was her friend and that she looked up to him and Lydia. Then Stella greeted Alan and told him that his excellent reputation preceded him. While greeting him, her headscarf fell off, Then Alan told Stella that he had learned a lot from Tina and told her that her headscarf had fallen, and he handed it to her. Then Karen asked to get to the point and told him that the academy director asked her to deliver this letter to Alan and that the director had an urgent matter that called him, so he would not be able to meet him. Then Alan understood why Karen was waiting for him. Then Alan opened the letter and read it. The director then told him that he wanted to ask him for a favor and that he had tightened security procedures at the academy, but he was very busy and that the matter concerned Prince Gerard and that he had now abandoned Lydia and had his eye on Lynn, and that he was supposed to be under house arrest, and no one knew what he was planning. Then Karen asked Alan, "Is something wrong?" But Alan asked her not to worry, and that the director asked to appoint him as a temporary teacher, which surprised them. After that, Stella gave Alan the attendance list for today's classes and asked him to allow her to accompany him and attend his classes. But Alan told her that he knew she was busy, but Karen had a mandatory class now. But Stella told him that she had no problem at all showing him the place instead of Karen. Then Alan told Stella that her headband was exactly like Tina's headband. Then Stella told him that it was a souvenir from their mother and that she held her head high with pride when she wore it, and as an heir to a duchy, she must live a life befitting her name. Then Alan wished they could refine their skills together, she and her sister. Stella confessed to him that they had agreed on this together, she and Tina, and that they had been corresponding for a long time, and that Tina had told him many things about him. Then Alan discovered that they were close, but he did not ask what Tina had said about him, but Stella told him that she had written about him that he was very mean and that Stella believed her younger sister. But Alan did not mean to be like that. Then Alan and Stella moved to Tina and Ellie's class, which surprised them. Then Stella asked everyone to sit down because the lesson would start now. Then, Alan welcomed the students and told them his name, and that he would be their teacher for a short period, and that he was a former student at this academy, and that he looked forward to working with them. Then one of the students spoke to each other and said that they had never seen a teacher of this young age before among the teachers, and that everyone in this class passed the admission test with distinction, and would a substitute teacher like this be able to teach anything? This angered Lynn after hearing them, and Tina almost showed her power due to her anger, but Alan asked her to calm down. Then he told them that they would start and that he did not use the school book and he preferred applied magic. Then he wrote on the wall board and asked them if any of them knew how to explain the levels of spells. Then Lynn raised her hand and answered the question that spells are divided into 3 types: advanced, basic, and intermediate, according to their power and effect, and that the higher inherited spells in the houses of the 4 great dukes, including the House of Leinster, are an exception. Then, Alan told her that it was a correct answer. Then he asked again, "Can anyone cast an advanced spell?" And Stella raised her hand, as did Lynn and Tina, which surprised the rest of the students. Then Alan asked Lynn to cast an advanced spell as an example, but Lynn stopped and asked Alan, "Do you want me to cast it in this place?" But Alan told her that he would create a barrier for her. Then Lynn came forward and Alan created a barrier. Then Lynn launched an attack using advanced magic. Then Alan explained to the students that this is advanced magic and that it is so powerful that it can cause side effects, so it should be handled with caution. Then he asked Lynn to stop, but Tina felt jealous and asked Alan that she also wanted to do this. Then Alan allowed her to do so. Then Lynn wondered what kind Tina would present, as she was the first place winner, and there was no doubt that it would exceed her effort that earned her second place by far. Then Tina came forward and showed an ice spell, which caused ice to spread inside the class and the students felt cold. And Alan thought that Tina wanted to impress them with an ice storm wolf, and Tina succeeded in showing the ice wolf, but Alan asked Tina to stop until the wolf disappeared, which provoked Lynn towards Tina, and Tina became very angry. Then Alan asked them to stop, and told them that since they were the 2 best students in their class, and that they excelled over their classmates by far, but with power comes responsibility, and he asked them not to forget this fact ever. Then Alan continued to explain to them that he would now explain how to cast complex spells. Then he showed them a complex spell and asked them to try to do it, and they could do such things once they mastered them, which surprised all the students. But Patricia wanted to ask the teacher a question. When Alan allowed her, she asked him if he could combine light with darkness, or if this was difficult for him. But Alan told her that he would try, and he did indeed combine light with darkness, which surprised all the students. Then he stopped it and asked them for their opinion on it. He asked them to study hard, and they would learn to do this themselves. Then one of the students asked Alan if a skilled wizard could summon magical creatures, and asked him if he could do this. Then Alan told them that he would show them this now and launched a spell, which caused a group of animals to appear, and he told them that they could touch them as they were harmless. Then the students picked up the animals and were very surprised. Then Ellie approached Alan and asked him to teach her this spell, but Alan told her that this was a little difficult, but he asked her to extend her hand. hand. Then Ellie extended her hand. Then he asked her to cast a spell. Then he asked her to imagine a cat, and when she imagined it, the cat appeared on her hand, which surprised the rest of the students. Then Alan asked Ellie to do it by herself now. Then Alan told the students to abandon the idea of whether they could do it or not, and he also told them that he knew someone who was not able to cast a basic spell, but she never gave up, and trained with the sword more than anyone, and mastered it to the point that she could split spells using her sword, and the secret was to maintain her determination and move towards action. The students asked if Alan meant the sword lady, Lydia. Then Alan asked the students before ending the lesson if any of them wanted to ask about anything. Then Stella asked him to allow her to ask a question from someone outside the class. Then she asked him if he was able to cast a spell on her, but Alan told her no, and that he had the least mana capacity of anyone there, and intermediate spells were his limit, and that he could formulate advanced spells but could not activate them. And yet, he graduated from the Royal Academy and the university, for the two schools are looking for more than just mana capacity. Then Stella asked him what they were looking for. Then Alan thought that they were looking for perseverance and diligence without laziness or arrogance or being preoccupied with the opinions of others, and he asked the students to abandon the idea that they were helpless and to always try new challenges, and he told them that this was how their lesson ended now. Then he approached the drum, and they asked him to tell them more about the sword lady, Lydia. Then we moved to Lydia's house, and Alan was teaching Lynn and Tina together, and Ellie was also at their service. Alan thought that this was Lydia's idea, and that it was very good, and while Ellie was preparing tea for them, she almost fell to the ground. But Alan saved her, which caused Lynn and Tina to give him looks. Then Lydia came to them and asked what was happening, and told him that he should discipline her servant. But Alan pleaded with her, and told her that it was just an accident, and asked her to calm down, but Lydia told him there were no excuses.